Well, the holidays are a time for celebrating and relaxing, and that's why for today's topic, WMBF news anchor Brennan Summers is at the Bottle Shop in Conway, checking out some of the best seasonal releases to enjoy with the family and friends over the holidays.
Hey everyone, out here at the Bottle Shop in Conway for one reason only. That's because Thanksgiving, Christmas, right around the corner for so many people. And it's not just a time for good food, it's also a time when you see a variety of beers come out. So we came out here to speak with Lucas about all that. What is it about this season and the types of beers that are released that gets so many people excited about it?
Well, I think it's the flavors. I mean, you bring out the spices, they bring out the darker beers, the heavier beers. Things that'll keep you warm on a cold winter's night, you know, kind of like tonight. They bring out different flavors and different, thicker, I guess.
It's just like the food with the spices and the pumpkin and everything. What do we have here that's relatively local, this Red Nose Winter Ale?
Red Nose is from Natty Greens out of Greensboro, North Carolina. That's their winter release. It is a lot of cinnamon, some nutmeg. It's an amber ale, so it's it's a little bit crisper than, let's say, drinking a stout or drinking a porter. So you can have a couple of them. They're only around 6.5%, so they're not overly, too much alcohol to where you're falling asleep on the couch before dinner. So it's just a nice drinking beer.
And people are going to see a lot of beers that will have the spices, but is it just the little things, whether it be they'll see cinnamon, they'll see orange, will that make that big of a difference?
It really does. It really does. I mean, just the slightest little bit, depending on during the brewing process when they add the spices, will really kind of change the palate of that actual beer. So, we've got quite a few that have, peaches and cinnamon and allspice and things that just that slightest little bit will bring in a really nice.
And everyone's going to have somebody in the family that might not be the biggest fan of something that tastes too beer-like.
Yes.
And then, but they'll love the wine, they'll love types of ciders.
Right.
And that is
Crown Valley out of Missouri. This is a blackberry cider. It's amazing. I'm not a big cider guy, and you can see ciders all over the place. You can get some of the more mass-produced ciders that you'll see in the grocery stores that are just kind of apple, or they'll have a little bit of a taste. This is made with real blackberries, and it's just an amazing, for the wine person or the, I don't like beer, you pour them one of those, and next thing you know, it's like, wow, okay, this is great. I actually like beer now.
And that's very different than the traditional, just something that's apple based that you can find anywhere.
Right. So a little bit more hard to find. We have it here in the shop, a couple other places too, but it's definitely worth looking for.
That's looking ahead to some of the winter beers, but because we're here in South Carolina, can't forget about the Oktoberfest and all the pumpkin spice ones. We're going to have a look at that coming up the next half hour.
Well, just in time for Thanksgiving, in today's topic, WMBF news anchor Brennan Summers is at the Bottle Shop in Conway. He's checking out some of the best brews to serve and enjoy with family and friends this holiday season.
Welcome back here at the Bottle Shop in Conway. Last half hour we talked about winter beers and all the spices getting ready for the holiday season, but because it is South Carolina, every once in a while you get still one of those relatively warm days, even heading into Thanksgiving and Christmas. We can't forget about the pumpkin spice everything in Oktoberfest, because you will still see a lot of that hanging around in stores. We're back here with Lucas inside the shop. There's something local that's still going around, a pumpkin ale that's pretty good.
It is pretty good. The Southern Barrel. It's going to have a little bit more of the pumpkin beers come in two different ways. They either have the pumpkin itself that's been put in the mash process and the brewing process, and then then there's the other one that just uses the pumpkin pie spices, and it's a little bit more sweet, a little bit more pumpkin pie flavor versus just kind of the starches from the actual pumpkin. So this one has a little bit of both. It's got that nice spice, but it is actually brewed with actual pumpkin.
And this is, I guess, like pumpkin spice, everything that people flip out over some of these beers.
The lattes, and everywhere you look you find pumpkin spice, and you'll see, and there'll be quite a few there. There's some by Sam Adams. There's New Belgium has a few, so you'll see quite a few different.
And those are the bigger names that people will see in their grocery store, but there's still, I mean, we spoke about the Red Nose from Natty Greens, North Carolina, the last half hour, and then now here in South Carolina. You can find good beers in this area.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, yeah. I mean, the South Carolina, North Carolina region is booming. Asheville has been, beer capital of the United States for many years running. So yeah, if you go looking, coming to a shop like ours or some of the other beer stores in the area or some of the beer bars, look for the North Carolina, South Carolina beers. You'd be quite, surprised.
There's so many specialty things that come out, just limited releases that are hard to get, and this is the breakfast stout.
That's pretty one of the big ones. That's it is released. It's from Founders out of Michigan, Grand Rapids. It's one of the harder beers to get because they do such a limited release and they are mass distributed. So they'll send 150 cases to the Myrtle Beach area, and you think, wow, 150 cases. Well, you figure that there's 25 craft beer bars. There's at least 10 places that that sell it. So to get your hands on some breakfast stout from Founders is a big deal.
What do you think people just love so much about it, or that?
It's just. I think a lot of it has to do with the limited availability. I mean, it is a great beer. It's a coffee beer. I like that one. I like Narwhal from Sierra Nevada. Our own New South has Lily the Great. There's some of the more higher end 8.5%, 9.5%, 10.5% beers. So it's a great breakfast or a great dessert beer. Something after you're done eating your turkey, kind of kick back, put on the game, and sip on an imperial stout.
And then maybe all the tryptophan and
Yeah.
make it go right to sleep.
Yep.
All right, Lucas, thanks for having us out here. A lot going on, a lot of different choices, and hope you have a nice holiday season.